And now, ladies, we're going to go live in 3, 2. All right, we're live.
Hi, everyone. Moms in Real Estate Community. I'm so excited today. So me and Randy have been like talking about the morning show, and we were like, why don't we bring some amazing ladies in our community on more regularly to get more rooted in our community? So this is our first one, and we're going to be talking to Kelly, who's right here in Arizona, right where I'm at. She co-works at the same space as me. We're at the same brokerage. So really excited to have you on today because you're like the geo farming expert, and I'm like learning
Thank
this.
you.
And it's going to be really fun to get to know you, and we'll tell you guys how you can learn more from her and everything like that. So, Kelly, why don't you kick us off and just tell us like a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, thank you for having me, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm Kelly Saggione. I'm with Real Broker. I've been doing real estate about 12 years, going on 13. I focus mostly on the Gilbert, Chandler, East Valley area, if you're familiar with the Phoenix, geography, but I cover the whole valley. And I have a full-time assistant and I have a buyer's agent. And I love what I do so much. It's different every day and it's a challenge and it's so great. And I love what we all do. It's important work. I believe that. So
It is important work. Okay, so I know like our audience is all over the place as far as
Sure.
their real estate experience. So someone might be listening right now and be like, I don't even know what geo farming means. So
Sure.
like, if you were to just give a basic description, can you tell us?
Sure. Yeah. So geo farming is basically like a hyper focus in one community. So if you pick like the subdivision that you live in, and you were to just print market, digital market, like just consistently with a ton of intentionality, that's basically what geo farming is, and becoming the neighborhood expert. And then people tend to start to know you, like you, trust you, and then the calls come to you rather than all this outbound, constantly, calling expireds and all that. Not to say you shouldn't do those other lead pillars, but it's basically just a hyper focus on one subdivision.
So I love that. And do you feel like when you first started, it was something that you were maybe like, did you do it right away or did it take you a while to get into? Because farming is more of a longer
Yeah.
term play. And so I think a lot of people get discouraged by it. Was that
Oh,
you?
totally. Totally. So when I first joined real estate, I was at a really small brokerage and my mentor was my broker and he was super old school. And he told me day one, he was like, you should start farming your neighborhood. I'm like, nah, what? Like, why would I think I sent like 2 flyers or 2 postcards. And then I'm like, well, that was such a waste. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then, I went for the shiny things like, Zillow leads and, things that felt like I was doing something, but, half the time people would, why are you calling me? Click, even though they put in an inquiry to talk to someone. So it took me, a lot of trial and error, seeing what works. And then I just got to a point in my career where I felt like I was trying to like do everything, be everything, and I just got really, really burned out. So it took, I started in 2020 and, I said to myself, I am going, I definitely have a tendency to, squirrel, try and then like chase other things. But I said to myself, there was a new community being built right across the street from my house. So I actually live in like a very like niche horse property community. So it's not really a viable geo farm. But a new community was being built. I said to myself, all right, there's no agent that's already geo farming here. There's, there's hardly any information out about it other than what the builder is dripping out. I said, I am going to see this through. I'm going to do what I actually say I'm setting out to do. And I've done it. And I'm, and I think it took on a life of its own, and that was really cool to watch. And I'm very, once things start rolling for me, then I'm all in. So that's kind of how I started Geo Farming. I really wanted to focus. I didn't want to do everything, to try to do all these different lead sources. I wanted to work close to home, and basically, like, I wanted to choose what I was selling. What I wanted the homes to look a certain way because they were easier to market. I wanted to be very, very close in proximity, so I wasn't driving across the valley for all these listing appointments. And and I wanted to up my price point. So all those things kind of came into play in my decision making.
How long would you say it took before it popped?
6 months.
6 months.
Yep.
Randy,
Six months. I got my first call.
Randy, do you feel like you hear about 6 months? I feel like the most common thing I hear from agents that farm is about 9 months.
I was going to say 6 months sounds really good. And this is something that I think is so important for agents to remember is there's going to be sacrifice in one place or another, right? And unfortunately, when agents get in this business or when they're in the building season, they go for the low hanging fruit, and they don't understand that by going for the low hanging fruit, the sacrifice is going to be long term, and it's going to be over the course of the career. Right. And so one of those, the reason we're so excited, and in case you missed it, we're going to be bringing Kelly to do a masterclass inside of our community. And one of the reasons you should absolutely show up for this is because 6 months is a sacrifice. If you're focusing all your efforts and energy in the Geo Farm and the build out, to go 6 months without income or to have all of your focus one place is tough. But what I hear you saying, Kelly, is this has positioned me for my long-term success in a business.
100%.
That is life-giving and profitable, right? So for the most part, of course, obviously, all of us have multiple pillars of business, but this is your primary source of business, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's what I said. It's funny because I make my vision board every November, December. And I said last year that I wanted my Geo Farm to be 50% of my business. And actually this year it's been probably closer to 75% of my business. Every listing that I have right now and buyer that I'm working with is a result, has a trace back to my Geo Farming. And it's funny because it just bleeds elsewhere, because some people don't even end up buying in the Geo Farm. You know what I mean? It takes me other places, and then they're like, well, I have a lot of land to sell, or, well, we got to sell this home too. My father needs to, go into assisted living. So it just takes on a life of its own. And the ROI on it is the best that I've had across any lead source ever. I love aside from probably friends and family,
So Kelly, what can somebody who attends the masterclass? So I have no doubt that you already have the attention of, hundreds of our members saying, sign me up. Like, I want a business that looks like this, but what can they expect as far as coming to the masterclass? Like, what to learn?
Well, so a common, that you guys already addressed a common question. Well, how long did it take to, to start, producing? So that, but really, I think a lot of people, they pick their Geo Farm and they start, like we said, they don't get a lot of traction, but I think that people need to probably back up a few steps and really pick their Geo Farm with a lot of intention. So we're going to go over what kind of community to pick and why. And we're also going to talk about, there's a lot of data points that go into that. So we're going to talk about what that is and making sure that, the juice is going to be worth the squeeze on the neighborhood that you pick, because that's, aside from, the, people not getting like an immediate, what's that term? The gratification. Instant gratification. Aside from that, some people get really discouraged when they've been doing it a long time. But really, if you look back at some of the factors of the neighborhood that they probably should have looked at prior to starting, probably wasn't a viable neighborhood to begin with for whatever reason. So we're going to talk about what community to pick, how to pick it, why to pick it, best practices, I have a ton of templates that I'm going to give out, videos that you can film today. Cause I like when I do master classes, I like to have a really tactical aspect. So we'll go over 3 videos you can film that day to get started. Taking into consideration if you are in a community where maybe there's a lot of new construction, how to attack that versus how to attack a resale Geo Farm. So we're going to dive into all of that sort of stuff.
So I have a question for you, Kelly. In this market, so we just wrapped up our second week of navigating, navigating the market after NAR. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I believe for moms in general is important is to be listing heavy, right? Just because you can control more as a mom, and we need to do that. But then also with the changes that we've seen, I do believe that buyer representation is going to be strong for the bulk of us. Mm-hmm. But again, a lot of people making that shift to want to be more listing heavy. So my question for you is for those agents that either have not been listing heavy or they're newer, for whatever reason, listings are still, kind of foreign to them. Do you think Geo Farming is one of those key things that they can do in their business that will help them to increase their listing business?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because this is what's creating opportunities. Yep. You know what I mean? If you get in front of people enough and they start to see you enough, they're just going to start to make associations, right? Whether you've been in the business a long time or not, that familiarity brings a sense of trustworthiness, mm-hmm. To the clients or to the residents. So people start to know you, like you, trust you, and then usually you're at least getting the at bats for the listing appointments. You know what I mean? But yeah, definitely. I heard something, I think it was maybe Byron Lazine. He said it used to be list to last, right? But now it's list to exist after this NAR settlement. And that really stuck with me. I was like, oh God. But what the best part about Geo Farm is just create so many opportunities on the buy side and the sell side. So for sure, this is going to get you more at bats, more opportunities to be in front of people. And it's just a much easier sell for yourself when people have been seeing you show up and coming from a place of value. You can't just throw out the, just listed, just sold cards. It's more than that. It's more, it's more strategic than that. You have to provide value, and it doesn't just have to be real estate value. You almost have to be like mayor of the community, showing people things that they wouldn't know otherwise. And then with that, you become the authority, and it's a much easier sell to say, hey, I know when I walk into a listing appointment at Waterston, I know every house that's sold on market, off market. I know if I didn't get the listing, the call I make is to the listing agent. I know why they're selling. I have the inside scoop, and that's just a much easier sell for people because it shows that I know what I'm doing.
Well, when you say easier, what else comes to my mind, Kelly? It's such an easier business model. Real estate, most of us do have shiny object syndrome, like you spoke about earlier, and we're trying to do all the things. And it's not only hyper focused on, at Geo Farm, we're like, hey, this is where the bulk of my business is, but also that can play over and layer into your content. It can layer over events. It can layer over into all of the things. And now all of a sudden, everything that seems so big and so daunting, like becoming a listing agent, being on social media, hosting community events, all of a sudden it seems so much more simplified because you're just taking care of one community, speaking to one community, speaking about one community, and you're able to go so much deeper, right? And so this is one of those opportunities. Again, I'm just so excited where we are in our industry, because even myself who has had a successful 20-year career can say, you know what, I'm going to shake it up and I'm going to further niche down, get more intentional, which I am. So fun thing about me is for the last 20 years, I've been very first time and move up buyer heavy. And in a season where I'm like, I want the business to look different. And my slogan is I help families escape the suburbs, right?
Yeah.
Help them escape.
I like that.
Like, I don't, not to say I want to be honored to sell somebody a house in a suburb.
Yeah.
fine, but that's not where my excitement comes from, right? And I help families do compounds. And so it is like, these are the moments where we can get excited about matching our skill to our Geo Farm and not just doing something like this for the sake of having business, but for loving business.
Well, and there's so much, like you said, you just said it perfectly. There's so much crossover now in my content. And now think about it, like my SOI has bled into the Geo Farm because I have so many past clients living there. You know, a lot of it, the reviews just get spread across the neighborhood, but also, you know, I post things, you know, my client events, you know, there's just, like you said, there's so much crossover now. And it has really simplified my business model in so many ways. You know, like you said, like we've talked about, like you can't just have one lead pillar, at least, right? You know, well, you need to have multiple pillars, but instead of having 7, now I have 3, and there's so much crossover. It has just simplified everything for me. And I think back to when Dwayne, my mentor, said, you should start your Geo Farm. If I had just stayed the course, you know what I mean? But you live and learn. Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
100%. So for those of you that are tuning in, you'll want to mark your calendars for October 2nd at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, because that is when we are going to do the masterclass. While the masterclass will replay in our Facebook community where this is live streaming now, we highly suggest that you actually register and you attend in person. And so Kelly will go through the masterclass, and then Kelly, will you also be able to, at the end of the masterclass, open it up for questions?
Oh, totally. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So as to most of the events we do, the value is in actually showing up and asking your specific questions. And so we really want you to have an opportunity to do that. So in the comments of the show, we will also redrop in the link for Kelly's masterclass on October 2nd at 10 a.m. But Kelly, is there anything else you want to share? Any other good information? I mean, I'm super excited. I can't wait to attend, and I can't wait to spread the word. I know we're going to have tons of agents on the call, but what would you want to say to anybody that's seeing this live teaser of the goodness to come?
Well, I am now, the teacher has become the student, right? Or student has become the teacher now. Like, I will be my mentor and say, start Geo Farming, and this is your, forecast to, I wish I had started sooner. But no, I'm just really passionate about it because I have seen it work. I've seen this play out, and it's just, I kick myself because it's so old school and it's so slept on, but it is, I really enjoy Geo Farming. It's, it's easy to talk about. It's easy to get excited about, because it's been a pillar that I have, pretty much made on my own, you know what I mean? Like I've picked the price point, I've picked the community, I've picked all of the factors that I wanted my business to look like. And now it's coming to fruition, because, I've went after it with a lot of intention and a lot of consistency, which is, what this business, is based on, but it's really easy to get away from.
Kelly, I have one more question. Do you find, so something I talk about with agents a lot is understanding that you don't need a database of 1,000 people, right? Nobody actually needs that. What you need is true tenured advocates. And something I've noticed, and I have not been near as intentional as you yet, but I have begun to be more active in my own neighborhood and starting what you're talking about. And something that's interesting to me is I have developed 2 or 3 neighbors that almost act as they're definitely advocates, but almost as my protectors, almost like to them to use somebody outside of our neighborhood it would be blasphemy. And so they're like, so I get the text messages from them before anything happens. Like I got one that was like, did you hear that Mark and his wife are like moving? Have they talked to you yet? And so it's like, I get to be 2 steps ahead of stuff because I have like 2 or 3 neighbors that are like, okay, well, if you're moving in this neighborhood, you use Randy. Like, that's just like, So I'm just starting to see this. Like I've had the honor of having advocates before, but never like neighbors that almost think it's like not allowed to use people that aren't. So do you see this a lot?
Oh yeah, I've got my fangirls. I've got my people. I've got my people that they just, they go to bat for you. And because, I've been able to, be who I am through my marketing efforts and all that. And I've gotten to show them, my business. I've helped them. I've helped their family members. I've helped them on buy side, sell side at this point. So they know that I'm the real deal, and they know that I'm going to treat them really well. And I take care of people. It's not just a transaction. It's a lifelong, business practice of, providing value and friendship and, fiduciary, so, you definitely get people who are down for you. And is really cool.
So cool.
And that's part of what makes the Geo Farm so special and so much easier once it gets going, because you have these advocates out there for you, and it just, the social proof is there.
Yeah, 100%.
So
well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Everyone to meet you before you actually get to teach. So we're really excited to have you teach inside the Moms in Real Estate community.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Beforehand, if anybody wants to follow you on social media, what's the best way to do that?
Okay, so I'm most active on my Instagram. It's at Kelly Saggione. Good luck spelling it. But really, it's just at first and last name. So that's the best way.
Well, in case you can't spell like me, we'll drop that in the comments for you as well. Okay. So Kelly, thank you so much. We're so excited to have you teach, and everybody be sure to get registered for that class.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.